All right, so if you intended to be at a masterclass that's going to help you to learn how to leverage your strengths to get unstuck, then you're in the right place. We'd like to welcome you. Petrinia Speaks. My assistant Charity is also on the call, and she'll be helping out if you have any questions or connections or any challenges. She is your girl. And let me just work through this because it looks like I have two different earphones on, but we're going to make that work too. How's everyone doing today? Kind of type in the chat, what's your word for today? Let's just kind of see where everyone is. What's your word for today? For me, I'm feeling very hopeful. Hopeful is my word today. I'm hopeful and I'm working in the intention that I will be able to help someone today to discover some new things, to explore, to shift their thinking a little bit, to find their ways if they're feeling stuck in finances. If you're feeling stuck in, I can't make enough money, or when I make the money, I spend it all up, or I don't know how to develop a budget, I keep self-sabotaging. Or in parenting, how can I like the people that I'm raising? I love them, but how can I like them every day, right? Some of us are stuck there and we're trying to find the gifts in our children and be the best parents that we can, yield in shame and guilt, and make sure that we're making homes to where people feel like they belong and not just that they're trying to fit in and that their love is conditional. Maybe your stuck place is your love life. You just can't find the right one, or you keep meeting the same one, and that one isn't the one that's lighting your fire. Maybe that's your stuck place. Please feel free to just put in just write in the chat any of the areas that you feel like you might be stuck right now, that you believe that you might be able to walk away with some strategies today. Obviously, those of us running businesses, entrepreneurship it flourished in the pandemic, and it's still, in that space now. So people are looking for new streams of income, but sometimes you have an obstacle and you say, should I, would I, could I, am I meant to do this? You're still in the mindset of an employee and not really understanding how to anchor your business. Or maybe you still are an employee, and in your career, you're feeling like you've hit a plateau and you just don't know how to break through, because truly what got us here won't get us there. So we're going to learn about some habits for breakthrough. So I just want to welcome you today. Welcome you, welcome you. As you come in, I'd love for you to just type in your name and type in your name and type in where you're joining from. Okay. Now, just a little bit about me, very little bit about me, because this is more about you. This is focused on you today. I'm going to try to take this floating thing away. Hi. All right. So I get up every morning charged up to just help my ideal client to transform into their ideal self. So many of us are accepting fine as a way of life, but they know that something in us deserves more than just fine, because fine can be a four-letter word that can be just a blocker. So helping people to transform into their ideal self, even if they're not grown into that self yet, but helping them to see the pathway to get there. I'm an engineer turned banking executive. Then I turned HR consultant at the partner level. I turned corporate real estate professional in oil and gas. And I turned executive self-actualization coach. So what I'm doing now is, in this season, and for many of you that know me, I worked for Shell in Nigeria for about 13 years, managing portfolios and real estate and doing fun stuff there, making great workplaces for people to thrive and feel engaged. I worked in leadership coaching leadership training while I was there, and I really got bit by a bug on resilience. I'll tell you a quick story because this really focuses in on my why. Imagine you're working hard, your wife, mother, 5 kids, husband, and then you discover that your husband has a brain tumor. Go away on a holiday. He says, I'm going to stay back and work on our new home. And then when we return from that holiday, we get the diagnosis that if he would have gotten on the plane with us, he would have likely died from the fluid pressure on his brain. So for many of you who know about the palace my husband has built me, I call it the palace that saved my home. But God has something else working in my life at the same time. There was an opportunity in the company to volunteer to be a Be Well resilience coach. And it was in that season that I had learned about resilience and I was training others. People didn't know that every time they called me to come to their department to talk to them about resilience, I was actually doing self-talk for myself and helping myself to make it through that particular challenge in my life. So my company is actually called Resilience Life Resources. I'm happy to say my husband's still alive and kicking. We made it through that particular trial of our life, but it really set me on a purpose path to help others to unlock the ability to bounce back in their lives, even bounce forward by using habits of resilience. So a big part of that is character strengths, and we'll get in that in just a minute. But what I'm also doing is health and wellness board certification in progress. So catch me before my fee jumps up, because those folks, once you get on the other side, we get to charge $500 an hour. So I'm excited about that, that new life. But currently, I am certified by the College of Executive Coaching and Positive Psychology-based health and well-being, and that's the platform for which I'm joining you today. Now, so many of us, what is it, 75%? KPMG did a study and found that 75% of women suffer from imposter syndrome. How many people know what imposter syndrome is? Yes or yes? Does anybody ever feel like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, and you just find, or you look at a job, description, when you want to apply for it, all you see are the things that you don't qualify for, right? So this whole thing is to help people shift from what's wrong with me and shift to what's strong in me. Okay, because you're stronger than you think. I'll share a quick case with you. Carol is a lady who was, she was the CEO of the Girl Scouts, and actually seen as, by Peter Drucker as being one of the best CEOs in the world. He actually recommended her. He actually recommended her to be the GM for GE, actually. But she went through a 360-degree assessment. And in that 360-degree assessment, she got all this wonderful feedback about how wonderful she was as a leader. But when she looked at the feedback with her coach, what she actually did was write down 27 things that she needed to work on. 27 things that were not where she wanted it to be. 27 things that she considered to be what was wrong with her. Now, how many of you find yourself in that self-critique mode? Find yourself in the, all I can see is what's wrong. So for those of you who got the pre-work, one of the things that we shared was a self-compassion meditation, because in order to shift from that self-criticism into loving ourselves and appreciating who we are, self-compassion is one of those habits that are very, very important to begin to build, so that you can see what is strong in you, not just what's wrong with you. I want you to just type in the chat, give me a 1 if you've ever found yourself in the space of what's wrong with me, and just spending time on what's wrong, what I don't have, what's not happening for me yet, all the obstacles that I face. Now, this whole body of work fits into the larger Mojo ladder, because what I help people to do is, my ideal client is one who's maybe spent their career climbing a ladder, and they've gotten to the top of the ladder and found they're leaning on the wrong building. So part of what my work helps clients to do is get off of that ladder and be willing to let go of what's comfortable and shift into the Mojo ladder. And then the foundation of the Mojo ladder is awakening, The next level is elevating. And the final level is activating, going out into the world and habituating, living the habits, because our habits make us. Once we begin to make the right habits, our habits make us. So this fits into this first phase of awakening, where you're getting clarity. Who am I now? Connecting around your purpose, your values, your vision. That's where we talk about your strengths and seeing what is uniquely power-packed for you, and writing a new narrative, being able to see yourself in a different frame. Because if you think about the situations in life, often it's how we frame it that determines our focus. Just like when you put a picture on the wall, the reason you put a frame around it is so that you can focus on what's inside. And when you begin to know how to frame a thing, then that determines if you're on a faith walk or if you're on a doubt walk. And if you're on a faith walk, that means that you're believing the things that you want to positively happen in your life. And in that belief, you begin to shape your thoughts. Your thoughts then trickle down into your feelings. And it's only from feelings that we take action, reaction, inaction, proactive action, all of those things. Have you noticed when commercials, they get you on emotions, that's when you buy. So it's only when you have the feeling that you then take the action. And from that action, you begin to what? Alter the circumstances of your life. And the cycle starts all over again. Because from that circumstance, you then frame it. Does that make sense? Like I always, for one of my things is if I miss a plane, I always frame it as if, I'll catch the next one because I wasn't meant to get on that one. Maybe there's somebody I'm supposed to be meeting in this lobby while I'm waiting. And it always happens. I always meet wonderful people. With those delays come, I just frame it in a way that God wanted me to be here. So let me look for the opportunity and the gift in this moment. That's getting a sage perspective. And that is wisdom. Okay. So part of the reframing that begins to happen is, one, you in this session, and this is just a bite size because it's 90 minutes, and I just want to give you a flavor for the big offer that I'm going to be making toward the end of the program. But what you should be learning today is just getting some clarity on how to spot your strengths, working through your golden circle. Figuring out how to overcome some of the doubts that maybe are keeping you stuck. I don't know, the only thing that's certain is the past. So when we need to move forward, we are going to be moving in uncertainty, but it's about the faith and the framing and the focus that'll make a difference in how you take those next steps. Unlocking a secret, an effective way to begin to align who you are with what you do and how you show up in a way of living that then plays out in your relationships, your work, your life, and then just really learn a step-by-step proven framework to develop a plan for well-being. I have a TD Jakes that I think I'll show later about using your core strengths. At the end of the day, what we begin to notice is anybody feeling that stuckness that is saying, I know this stuckness means that I'm meant to go somewhere higher. So feeling stuck generally is calling you to a next level. And the real question really is how am I positioned to go to that next level, right? So cases of stuck. Adiola is what I call her. She has been in her job for quite a while, and what she does is she connects behind the scene. People often reach out to her in her department, how to do this, how to do that, who to talk to for this, and how to get things done. She's always kind of playing in the background. But then her boss at a retreat makes this big announcement that she needs to better connect with people. She needs to make the department better known. So her stuckness is, I'm doing all this work, but I'm not getting recognized for it. I'd like for you to type a 1 if you can relate with this kind of stuckness, not being recognized for the things that you're good at. Number 2 is Joshua. keeping your head down before building alliances. Now, this person has been identified as very trustworthy. So they got moved into a risk management department. They had been great at managing stocks, right? But in this department, what they did was they decided to spend the first 3 months just really understanding, because the person they're replacing had been fired for corruption. And all of a sudden, everybody began to see them as aloof, and they were eroding trust. But what had made him successful in the past was being very focused on the work and being deep in the work. Can anybody relate to people having and you having an impact that you're not intending? That you're doing the thing that you think will make you strong, but people drawing conclusions in the wrong direction, saying that because you're maybe studying, you're not responding to them, and your intent is not matching your impact. Type number 2, if you can relate to this case of stuckness. The last 3 I'm going to go through pretty quickly here, just to say, Missy overcommitting in an effort to please. She was doing everything, saying yes, yes, yes. No was not even a word in her vocabulary. And if she's honest with herself, she was saying yes to many things because she was trying to show her worth. She needed for, her achievement defined who she was. Is anybody in the space of saying yes when they maybe should be saying no? You're feeling overcommitted and you're not able to be good at anything because you're trying to be good at everything. Please type 3 if that relates to you. Let me look at this chat real quick and just see what numbers we're getting. Excess weight issue. I like it. I like it. 1. Yes. Not being recognized. I love it. I love it. Not being recognized. Oh, love seeing you, Chi Chi. Yeah, we're going to take a pause in just a minute. I want to talk about Chi Chi for a minute. Now, number 4, husband and wife. We don't talk no more, right? We just find what's wrong with the other person. We don't maybe give any credit to their efforts or they're trying. All we know is they're getting on our nerves, and you just feel like there's walls in between you instead of bridges. Walls are made of the same material as a bridge. But if you can figure out how to lay it on the side and build connections, it allows you, to see the best in the other person. So how many people are in their marital relationships or in their love relationships finding that it's getting tougher to unite with your partner? Just type a 4. And last but not least is that new entrepreneur. We talked about it in the beginning. So many people are starting businesses and they're doing passion work and they're loving it. And people get their products. They're like, this is amazing. But the business of the business is sucking because the entrepreneur doesn't really like spending time on keeping the books. They only got involved in the work because they love the work, but they're not doing very well in the business. So I'm just going to mute you if you're not speaking. I'm going to ask you, Charity, to help me with that. And so let me know, does any of these cases of stuckness resonate with you? Can you see yourself? Now, the fact is, I could have a list of 20 different types of stuckness, but at the end of the day, all it means is we are not where we want to be, and we may not know how to break through the thing to get there. So what I want you to just reflect on for a moment. And if you have the guidebook, this is a perfect place to take notes, or just write notes for you. When we look at the wheel of life, we often are doing well, let's say in our health, or well in our love, but our spirituality might be, not, when was the last time we prayed? Or do we have a connection with a higher being? Your family relationships may have deteriorated where you just got walls, no bridges, or money. So I want you to just rate on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you in your health? Where are you in your love? Where are you in your spirituality? 10 means that you're exactly where you want to be. You don't imagine how I could get any better. 0 is, I need help. I need help, as we would say in Nigerian parlance. What about fun? Some people are so stuck in a transactional life that they do the thing every day, same way, pay the bill, walk past, make the meal, blah, 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 but don't even know how to connect with fun. In fact, they forgot what even is fun to them. And last but not least is that social connection and your friends. I'd love to hear if anyone wants to share, did anything pop out for them as they were doing this assessment? Are you having low? Yes, okay, health and set, okay. So health. So the good news about health, and this is also where the strengths comes in positive psychology, 75 to 80% of our health issues really come from not taking care of ourselves in the wellness. And that means the mind, the body, the soul, our connections, and our sense of accomplishment. That is the well-being model, and it reflects in our more joy pillars, because if you can get your mindset right and know how to frame and work through situations and be able to in your body get the rest, get the diet, and get excuse me, the movement right, and then in your soul create the time and the reverence to connect with the higher being, be it in nature, be it whatever your spirituality is, then you're less likely to run into disease. You'll be in ease, not in dis-ease. So I'm glad to hear that health is one of the areas. I want you now just to look at, Simon Sinek came up with this. This is called the Golden Circle. Raise your hand. You can use the app if you want, if you're familiar with Golden Circle. Typically, the what is what the world experiences from us, the thing that we bring, the products, like the problems that we solve. And generally, people work from the what to the how to the why. And I'll give you an example of that. You look at Apple on the right, okay? We just happen to make computers want to buy one. So the computer is what the world experiences, but what differentiates them from all the other computer suppliers and producers in the world is that they start from the why. The why is everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently, yes? And we believe in thinking differently. So then that shows up in the how. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. So this whole principle of the Golden Circle emanates from highly successful, enlightened, inspirational leaders and products and businesses, and even down to individuals. We act, think, and communicate from the inside out. And so you want to start from the why, your purpose, and some people struggle with the purpose. So for me in the 90s, I discovered that my purpose was impacting others in a positive way. I knew that that was my purpose. Now, in different seasons, it shows up different ways. Right now, it's showing up as in this season as a coach. But if you start from the why, your purpose, your motivation, you always, Tyler Perry talks about that when he creates characters. He's always asking, what is their motivation? Not the what that they did, but the why. Because if you can get central on your why, then it makes it much easier for how you show up in the world. So your why is the purpose. And if you know what your purpose is, please write that down. If you're still struggling with what your purpose is, we're going to do just a couple prompt and questions that can help you get there. The how is really your process, specific actions that you take to realize the why. This is where the strengths show up. This is where the strengths of how you do things, your unique way of being show up. The strengths are in your how. But what is the result that you bring? So what I'm going to challenge you to do is something called dragon laying stories. Let me see. Let me not get ahead of my. Any questions on the Golden Circle? This is a very, very helpful exercise if you want to do more with it offline. But discovering your why, and then what are those strengths, all kinds of strengths, be it talents or value-driven strengths. And then what is the what that I bring? And then the what that you bring, what I want you, so I'm going to ask you, For some people have you noticed that when you go to funerals, when you come back, you usually have this resolve that I'm going to make my life count. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to do this thing. Well, if you're anything like me, I do that. And there's a exercise called the eulogy exercise. And what I'm going to ask you to do is just spend a few minutes writing out, what do you want your life to stand for? What is the story that you want people to be able to say about you at the end of your life? If eulogy isn't comfortable for you, I want you to think about sitting on the rocking chair in your 80s and 90s. What are the stories that you want to be able to tell about your life? I want you to just watch this video. It's from our Mojo Summit in 2021. Let me see if I can step out of here to get it. Thank you for that. I see love 4, spirituality 8, family 6, money 8. Okay, so love might be the area that you would be focusing on. I get that. Thank you. Okay, gonna see if I can make this video show. All right. Technology is great when it works for you. All right, so we have day 1. Okay. Okay, so this is the introduction from our Mojo Summit from 2021. And I just want you to listen to this excerpt from one of our speakers. All right, so I'll just get a little ahead of it. And let me go back here and share my screen. Okay, let me know if you can hear this. Does everyone see a handsome man with the infinity sign at the back of the room? Is that what you're seeing on the screen now? You can come off mute and say yes, yes or yes, yes?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
There's
All
no
right,
limit.
let's listen. There's no limit.
No limits to our abilities. There's no limit to our skills.
I always say that we cannot determine the length of our lives, but we can determine the depth of our lives, meaning that with every day, you get to choose how deep you go.
That was so much power there, Tosin. So much power there, Sora. We determine the length of our life, but we can't control the depth.
In this age where we're living in, the deeper you go, the less you'll find people there. If you decide to actually focus on one thing, you will be surprised that there is no competition. There's no one there because everyone right now is just skimming the surface. God asked Moses, what's in your hand? And it was just a staff, but Moses didn't know that staff was what was going to allow him to part the Red Sea, was what was going to allow him to free the Israelites. That staff turned into a snake. It did so many things. So I ask people, what is your gift? What is in your hand? What is in your hand? What do you have that you can give to the world? And it can be one thing, you guys.
All right. What do you think of that? What do you think of that? What I want you to take away from that is oftentimes we feel like there's so many things that are outside of our control, and surely none of us know how long we will live. But doesn't it give you a warm and fuzzy inside to know that we do get to determine how deep we want to go? Yes, thank you for that, Carol. It's a powerful truth. We get to decide. So between stimulus and response, we have a choice. And what I'm asking you as you write out this eulogy exercise, what is it in the far at the end when you look back? What do you want to say is the difference that you made in this earth? Okay. Has everybody had a chance to kind of capture their thoughts there? Okay, you can give me a thumbs up just to let me know. And I'm going to go back to just sharing my screen real quick. Here we go. Now, this is just a 5-minute thing. So I can't determine the length of my life, but I can determine my depth. So this is like the goal, right? Now, I'm going to introduce you to a concept called dragon slaying stories. Dragon slaying stories is basically how you solve problems. what types of solutions do you bring into space? And this is useful for when you're doing your resume. A lot of people just write out skills. This is skill, 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 skill. But it's very important to be able to give evidence of how you've applied that skill and what kind of changes you make and bring into a workplace, a community, a family, a church. Write one of your dragon slaying stories. And I'm going to ask if there's a volunteer where you can just share where and tell me about a time that you have actually brought a solution into place. For me, people call me a connector in chief. So if you reach out to me and you need to know, in the American Women's Club, people come into Nigeria for the first time, I'm often the person they reach out to ask how to do this and how to do that. And I kind of grew into it. I didn't expect it, but I listen and hear people's issues and problems, and I connect it to a solution. I connect it to a person. I do introductions all the time. And I've just noticed that is just one of the things that I, am gifted in. That's one of my dragon slaying stories. If anybody has one, they want to come off mic and share. But here's what I want you to begin to do. What strengths are showing up in your dragon slaying stories? What strengths do you see? Is it a listening strength? Is it a organization strength? Like I really take problems, put into a spreadsheet, and improve the process for turnaround and understanding. What are your strengths? And just list out a couple of your strengths, because here's how we put it all together. Your dragon slaying stories give you a clue in the what that you do. So in the golden circle, it's in the what you do and what strengths do you use to do it. And that then becomes your leverage to move the stuck area and begin to shift out the stuck area, because you're focused on your eulogy exercise that gives you your goal, your purpose, and your why. So this is filling that center of the circle, your why. Now, here's a tip. If you're writing your resume, writing stories about the problems you solve is a lot more powerful than just listing your skills. This is what career coaches are espousing now. And I love Liz Ryan. Liz Ryan taught me about dragon slaying stories, and she taught me about helping people to understand exactly the value that you bring by sharing those stories is more than skills. A lot of people have the same skills. They've gone through the same certification. They've gone through the same project management training, et cetera. But it's something unique about you. So what I want you to do is just tell me, pardon me, what do you see on the screen? What do you see? A lot of times people have told me they see trees sitting on top of hills on a rocky mountain, rocky plain, and they see water at the bottom. Does anybody see that? It's like a mountain, it's rough, and it's, rough climbing. If you see that, just type a 1. Type a 1 if you see that.
I see that, but if you just tilt your head, you see a woman and a child.
Exactly. I love that. So the whole philosophy around this is, if we stay in automatic and just look at things at the surface, Tosin Dortoye, I love the way she said, so many people are skimming the surface. If you skim the surface and just look at this thing, all you see is a mountain. But what we are doing today is getting you to tilt towards your strengths. And so everyone, just tilt your head to the left. When you tilt your head to the left, you'll see that reflection really is a mother and child, and they're both praying. So when you tilt towards your strengths, you are reframing situations, you're reframing how you go about life. This revolution on strengths started about 18 years ago. And instead of, in psychology, usually we're in the dysfunctional side, right? Schizophrenia, bipolar, all the disease. But there's a rating that says in the middle is 0, that's neutral. So all the negative scores is the negative psychology, and they created something called positive psychology. And the foundation of that is character strengths. So there's 21 million people who've taken this strengths assessment, and it allows you to see the pathways to become the best version of ourselves. Character strengths also give you a hint of what your values are, right? It gives you a hint of what your values are, because they're organized in a way that lets you know if you're a heart-centered person or mind-centered person, lets you know if you're more intrapersonal or interpersonal. And it begins to allow you to organize strategies to say, I'm already good at this. How can I use, like Moses, what do I have in my hand? I don't have to copy it and do it like Beyonce, right? I can do it like Patrinia does it, right? So we choose now to view ourselves. Moving from cognitive psychology to positive psychology, that personality characteristics really, really are the key. So we want to be attending to what's good. That creates, when you attend to what is good, if you're just joining, okay, that allows you to attend to the greater goodness. And there are 25 capacities for goodness. Like I said, 18 years ago, 55 psychologists got together and came up with this particular classification. And that's going to be the foundation of what we'll be working towards. So let me just go further into that. Now, the good news is, instead of only focusing on what's wrong, we're now looking at what's strong in you, and you can grow into that belief. Did anybody uncover any strengths for themselves in the exercise? Okay, strengths: compassion, listening, understanding, connecting others. I love that. Vessel of light that brings hope and healing. I love it. I love it. So some people are pretty far on their purpose walk. In the shift toward focusing on positive personality traits, what do we gain from that focus? What do we gain from knowing our strengths and valuing our strengths? Okay. So one of the things that jumped out is in solving problems, for example, if you can lean into forgiveness, which is one of the character strengths. When others do bad things, I just say it's okay. That's what a little boy said. That's what he walked away with. Because so many of us are walking around, in an unforgiving spirit. But if you have a strength of forgiveness, that allows you to forgive. It's not letting the other person off the hook, but it's taking you from that negative emotional state. Because when we're in that negative emotional state, all we can see is black and white. No creativity happens, no joy happens. You're not able to come up with creative solutions because you're stuck using the your prefrontal cortex, while the executive function happens, is blocked because your primitive brain is just stuck on I'm angry, or stuck on I'm not where I want to be, and that negativity will block you from being able to even see possibilities. So what we gain from focusing on our strengths is really finding what's the best in me, what's strong in me. I've run this accelerator program on strengths before, and one of my clients, Dr. Nona, from going through the acceleration, she was able to complete and publish her book. As a result, she had been blocked. She would start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. And then she found the best of herself and began to practice those strengths. And those strengths helped her to complete and publish the book that's now blessing the world. Ijoma says she can't believe how much less stress she feels because she's now knowing what her strengths are and not putting so much attention on what she's not in. She's finding ways to practice that. Comparison is no longer the thief of joy because she's only comparing to herself. Miss M was able to leverage love. Now, when she saw love as her signature strength, she said, what good is love? I want to be, leadership. I want to be this or that. But in the love, by leaning into what's natural and what's good in her, she was able to deepen the meaning of her business and really improve family relationships. I want you to just take a note real quick. When we talk about strengths, these are the character strengths. And you don't see anything in there about doing spreadsheets well. We don't see anything in there about even being a good public speaker, because character strengths looks at three things. If you have a signature, your top strengths are those things that are effortless to you, that are essential to who you are, and those things that energize you. The 3 E's of character strengths are essential, energizing, and effortless. Now, my story as an engineer, I was, from high school to college, they looked at my grades and said, you're great in math and science, and you should go into engineering. Now, I was great at math and science, but did they energize me? Effortless? I had to work a little bit, but it was, effortless. But was it essential to who I was? It was none of those things. So I want to make a dichotomy between talents and strengths. These character strengths zoom down to, they reviewed all over the world, the Bible, Quran, all the spiritual leanings. And these character strengths are positive attributes of yourself that show up in every culture. And it's been, well tested throughout. And what these point to is, what do you value? What values mean most to you? I'll just show you this here. I'm going to ask you, Charity, to just mute if you, okay. Okay. Okay, what I'm going to put through here, I'm just going to show you what the strengths look like. Now, for me, I love this gentleman. He talks about this character strengths revolution, because I think it is a revolution. We've got to evolve and look at ourselves in a different way. So let me just show you this.
About the decisions I make in my life.
Okay. Is this going to work today or no? Can you see a man on the screen? I'm going to go right here.
Think about how much good one of them or more have brought to your life and the life of those who you know. How much good they have brought to the world.
These are the character strengths: appreciation of beauty and excellence, bravery, facing fears and overcoming challenges, creativity, all about thinking of unique ways, fairness, and what's important is to realize that all of us have these 24 character strengths. It's just a matter of how we use them. Some of them are very used and some of them are underused. So any strength can be, you need to find the golden mean of how to use humor. The humor shouldn't insult other people or take serious matters and make small of them. But humor can lighten a situation and help people to feel more at ease. We've got love. Love of learning. Love of learning is my number one strength. And I use that in my example with being able to be strong in resilience while I was teaching others and I was going through a personal strife. The love of learning is a very powerful one, and it can be packed up with others. So in a mastermind that we'll be offering toward the end of the program, we will be going through a 3-week program that accelerates you into, number one, identifying your strengths profile. I'll give you my personal pro link into VIA so that you get your custom report, and I'll guide you. I'll take your hand and walk you through discovering, validating your strengths, learning how to spot your strengths, learning how to begin to spot those strengths in other people. All of those things that help you to lift your, go in an upward spiral and strengthen your particular well-being and make it easier for you to get unstuck. Because when you're using at least 4 of your strengths, then you're able to get into the zone. You're able to get into a space where maybe what you're working on doesn't even feel like work because you're so focused. And, you know, have you ever been in the zone where you're working on an assignment and you're just like, you know, I got to finish this. And before you know it, you've been in it for 4 hours. That is a signal that you're working in your strengths. Now, let me just take you back here. So when we talk about why strengths, this is using the 4 or more strengths, and this is about getting into your zone. So all of these positive things begin to happen because your strengths are linked to values. You begin to get more of the meaning. And when you're doing work that's meaningful, now, doesn't mean quit your job tomorrow because it's not linked to your meaning. But things that I've been able to do in my career, something called job crafting. Can you say job crafting? Job crafting is where you identify elements that will make you enjoy your job a little more. Maybe you're volunteering for a particular project, or you are offering yourself to help someone with something to build your skills and to use your strengths. After a while, you begin to craft a job that does make you excited about going to work every day. And you do that by understanding what your strengths are. So these are some of the areas that being able to, while you focus on strengths as a foundation, will make a difference in your life. If in fact your health behaviors are your issue, and you identify that perseverance is one of your strengths, then you can lean into perseverance as a way to set your path to be able to do what you need to do, because you're then saying, what can I do in the area of perseverance every day? Well, how can I show up differently in that perseverance? So I'll just give you an example. This is habits to develop for strengths at work. Now, the whole reason we talk about leverage is that oftentimes we take a problem and we just push hard and we just keep working harder at it, but it's still not budging. And that's what that first red ball looks like. When we then say, okay, I can get better results if I leverage a little bit, if I get some other team members working with me and we all try to push the thing. But the fulcrum of really getting the leverage is by leaning onto your strengths and leaning into your strengths. Curiosity, for example, this was a young lady who really wanted to, they had just gone through a downsizing at her company, and the mood and everyone's scared, am I going to be next? So her objective or her goal was to help create a more engaging workplace. And curiosity was one of her strengths. So she came up with a plan for how I was going to use it. Now, research shows that using 11 minutes is the key to actually practice the strength. So use it for 11 minutes a day, and that begins to build the muscles. Just like going to the gym. You don't run into the gym and lift 100 pounds. What you do is you lift 5 pounds, then 10 pounds, and then you build up the muscle. So this is about building up the muscle. So with curiosity and with any habit, you must first have a cue, something that reminds you to do it. So when you turn on your computer, that was her cue to use her strength. She would use curiosity and spend 11 minutes reading, learning something new. That becomes a routine, so that when that cue happens, like walking past the The bowl of fruit might be a health thing. That's your cue. Your routine is to take a piece of fruit, and then your reward is maybe getting on the scale, or your reward is putting a tick on the wall or telling someone. So that's how habits work. You must have a cue, you must have a routine, and you must see a reward. So the reasons that curiosity, for example, is a valuable skill, is a valuable strength, is that one of the 5 strengths that's most strongly linked to life satisfaction, happiness, health, longevity, and positive social relationships. When you're curious about others and not just being so self-centered, people often are very much attracted to you. They can help to strengthen a marital relationship. Just like I was talking about the challenge that people are having. Imagine in your mate, if you begin to get curious about things that they care about, if you begin to even spot what their strengths are and talk about that instead of the thing that you don't see, but focus on what you do and magnify it, because where your focus goes is where your focus grows. So helping and seeking and finding greater meaning in your life, embracing uncertain and new situations, all of those things are very, very positive ways to apply your curiosity. And once it's the entry point into new hobbies, passions, pursuits. Just find something to be curious about. So I want to challenge you to apply curiosity today and be curious about learning more about character strengths so that it can help you to get unstuck. So in your pack, by staying to the end today, by staying to the end today, you're going to get bonus gifts. One is a 4 Agreements primer, because the 4 Agreements book, I just love it. But I want to begin to get you thinking in the realm of doing my very best. That's the 4th agreement. And the way that you can do your very best is by leaning into your strengths. And in the slide I just showed you was just one example of how to develop your strengths at work. Your bonus is going to have 10 of those ideas. So do you feel stronger now? Do you feel stronger? You've been identifying your strengths, and those dragon slaying stories where you picked out what some of your strengths are, that's what you then pick to apply to say, how can I then use that strength to get closer to my goal? For me, the strength of empathy and listening. I'm in an organization now where I'm responsible for growing membership. And, we're dispersed over 15 countries. But the strength that I am using is curiosity, because I'm reaching out to people and asking them, understanding what their needs and concerns are. And that's helping to build a larger, stronger organization. And that's how you then use what you're good at to get at what you want. So it's not what's wrong with me, it's what's strong in me. Now, I'm going to just pass on that for a minute. These dates, we'll update them, but what questions do you have? Are there any questions? Is this intriguing, exciting to anybody? Yes, no?
Yes, I think it's very exciting to me. Leaning into our strengths is just such a positive model. Oftentimes we're cognizant of our strengths, but sometimes we just take our strengths for granted. And for me, it's just expanding the positive and throwing greater light on those areas that haven't been quite as strong.
Exactly.
So I really thank you for this.
Yeah. And you know what? We often take our strengths for granted because it's so easy to us. It's so essential to who we are, and we take it for granted. I'm going to ask you just to do something real quick, because I'm just in let's have some fun with this thing. Today is my oldest child's birthday. So I just want to, maybe I'll come on screen real quick and just do a happy birthday, Chi-Chi. Just have the gallery. If you can just say 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday,
Chi-Chi. Yes. Come off mute and just say happy birthday, Chi-Chi. Oh, I'm
Happy
seeing all these.
birthday, Chi-Chi.
Happy birthday. All right. Thank you very much. Now, I'm just going to pause here very quickly and stop the recording.